government. We're here to promote liberty. We sell freedom. That's our job. We're the sales force to try to sell people the idea of personal and economic liberty. Independence Institute was formed in the mid-'80s by John Andrews. What he looked at here in Colorado was that there is no beacon for those of us who believe in limited government. The goal and purpose, ultimately, is to make Colorado the most free state when it comes in terms of political and economic liberty. What we want to do is basically empower the individual over the powers of government. Since there are so many different areas where the individual and the idea of limited government needs help, we've decided to break our work into several different areas.
What we do is we look at constitutional issues, mostly under the U.S. Constitution, and explain what the Constitution really means. We discuss sometimes how politicians are violating the Constitution. The ultimate goal is to restore constitutional government in the United States. The Constitution is not being followed very much by the current federal government, and that endangers everyone's prosperity and their liberties and perhaps ultimately their lives.
The Education Policy Center strongly believes that parents should be empowered with the knowledge that they need to provide the very best education for their children. And we also strongly believe that school districts need to be held accountable to provide a high-quality education for every child using taxpayer dollars in a very productive way. The best thing about working at the Independence Institute is that we've been given the freedom to use our passions and our talents to go out and really do something and make a difference.
Transparency is important because it's your money. It's my money. It's not the government's money. When my child comes to me, and I have 3, and they're teenagers, so they spend a ton of money. But if they come to me and say, Mom, I know you gave me $20 at the beginning of the week. I need another 10. I'll say, where did you spend it? Well, I spent it on lunch. Okay, show me. And then they roll their eyes. But no, I'm serious when I say that. It is disrespectful of government to not show taxpayers how government is spending taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. Not only that, but it is amazing how careful someone will be when they know that others are watching them. If government knows that we've got our eye on them, they are much more likely to recognize that it is our money. And as we say, you know what? We tell this to legislators, and I tell this to legislators all the time. Listen, it is my money, it's not yours. My buck, though, stops with you, and I'm going to hold you accountable. And that's really the whole point of transparency, Mothers Against Debt, citizen auditors, all of those projects.
Well, it starts with the right to life. As the Declaration of Independence says, men are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the Second Amendment, in its most practical sense, is the right to defend your own life. District of Columbia versus Heller has to come at the top, because that is, after all, the case where, after 70 years of silence, the Supreme Court strongly and firmly recognized the Second Amendment as an individual right of all decent, law-abiding Americans to own firearms for self-defense. And that was something that was not just a victory that happened because of the lawyering work that went into the year before the case was argued before the Supreme Court, but really decades of work, including starting at including from the Independence Institute's Second Amendment project, really going all the way back to the late 1980s, about helping to inform public opinion and also doing legal scholarship on the subject, because however smart the Supreme Court justices are and however diligent their clerks are, they can't build everything from scratch. So a lot of the research that I helped create went into that legal background that enabled the Supreme Court to recognize the legal reality that the Second Amendment was meant to be an individual right for legitimate self-defense.
Fiscal policy is about tax and spend. And so when it comes down to how you manage a government, how you collect revenues, how you spend those revenues, that all has to do with fiscal policy, and that's the responsibility of our center. Our achievements include a very recent publication called the Citizens Budget. The Citizens Budget is a great idea of how the state government can control its spending such that we bend down that spending curve for future years, and we do away with this huge budget hole they're facing without having to raise either taxes or fees.
We promote health savings accounts. We discuss what happens when you remove third-party payment, and instead of giving subsidies to providers, you actually give subsidies to the people who need medical care. We expose government waste wherever we find it, which is not that difficult. And we promote good ideas from groups in Colorado who have done good things in healthcare and have come up with programs that reduce costs for everyone. Look, the pretense that you need government control because that will improve healthcare quality is wrong. And government says it can do this, but it can't. And there's a reason why the private system functions the way it does, and government should stop interfering with that and instead deregulate and clear away the underbrush that causes the private system to be inefficient.
My name is Todd Shepard, and I am the investigative reporter and researcher for the Independence Institute. There was an interesting psychological study a few years ago where in this hotel they placed a bowl of candy on this table, and they measured how much the people were taking out of the bowl of candy. And then after they had measured that, a few weeks later, they put a painting right beside the bowl of candy, and it was just a pair of eyes. And after they put that pair of eyes up next to the bowl of candy, believe it or not, people started taking less. And the truth is people's behavior changes when they know someone's watching. And so that's my job as an investigative reporter, is not only do we hope to uncover the fraud and waste and abuse in government, but we hope that just the simple act of watching on a day-to-day basis will change some government's behavior.
I remember when Ronald Reagan said that freedom is only one generation away from being extinguished. His call was basically to say, this is an eternal fight. We must continue to fight for liberty. Jefferson said that it is the way of things for government to grow in power and for people to lose their liberty. We've certainly seen that. What I look at is that this is a continuing fight. There is not one goal line. It's not like we can declare victory and all go home, because bureaucracy will always grow. The centralization of power and authority will always want to collect in an elite group. That's why what we do is so very, very crucial. And it's why this fight continues. We need to build an infrastructure that will always counter the growing forces of collectivism. That's what the Independence Institute does. I'm sad to say that this fight will never be over, but I'm also happy to say that there are people willing to protect our liberty in every generation. Politicians come and politicians go. They're very exciting and they're very charismatic, and we get carried away with them. But politicians always disappoint. Principles of freedom never disappoint. And here at the Independence Institute, we promote principle above politics.